We're so proud to have played for Montana State.
And wouldn't be where we are today without this program.
Now it's our turn to give back. Bobcat Collective is making a real difference for current and future athletes.
Montana State gave us the foundation to pursue our NFL dreams.
Join us in building something special, because when we invest in our athletes, we invest in the future of Bobcat football. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Join the collective today. Go Cats.
Breakdown, proudly presented by the Bobcat Collective at Montana State. The Bobcat Collective is the NIL collective that serves Montana State University student athletes. The collective has partnered with Montana State to connect fans, alumni, businesses, and local nonprofits with Montana State student athletes. Opportunities through the collective allow student athletes to earn compensation while serving the greater Montana State University community. Sign up now for memberships and enjoy automatic entry into raffles for free tickets while supporting the bright minds at Montana State. They have multiple different membership tiers, and you can also be a one-time supporter, and you can also business partner or corporate supporter. Visit bobcatcollective.com for more. These are breakdown one of the stretch run of the season, and now the game of the week on the FCS level takes place in Bozeman, Montana on Saturday night. We're joined now by a former Bobcat and the man who's been on the color commentary for the Montana State Radio Network broadcast the last couple of years, riding shotgun with Keaton Galogly. Leo Davis joins us here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, thank you, Colter. I feel really honored and privileged to be here right now. And, you know, I do ride shotgun with Keaton, and that guy, man, he really brings that sauce.
Yeah, he's good,
He's
man.
really talented, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good. Montana State's really lucky to have him. It's super fun to listen into you guys. It's so fun how there's all these ways to do it now too, right? Because I just go on the app and I just stream it in, and like I don't even turn on the noise on the TV until about a quarter in, because you guys always have all the updates on what's going on with the injuries, and Davies has always got stuff to say, and it's super fun to follow along. How's it been going? What have you thought of just being in the booth and getting into radio?
Oh, well, first, I did not seek this opportunity out. It kind of came my way, and I had no idea I'd get into broadcasting. And it's been it's kind of like my transition from defensive line to offensive line, baptism by fire.
Right.
A lot to learn. A lot of, no, we don't really do that, and this is what you can say, and this is how you should get better, and just working at a new craft. And I think it kind of gives you a new sense of life and responsibility. Not really responsibility, but you really don't know what kind of talents you have until you test the waters. And I think it's being in my middle age at 37, it's kind of like, oh, wow, there's something new I can do. There's something new I can kind of get good at. And it's really not too new, because I love football and I love my Bobcat, so it's right up my alley. But being in the booth and getting my football fix without having to ice my shoulders or get a surgery at the end of the season, you know, it's nice. Or when I was coaching, you know, making
Right.
sure my kids are prepped. Are they eligible? Are they ready to really handle what's going to happen Friday night under the lights?
It is such a great way to stay a part of the game, right? Like Ty Gregorak and I talk about that all the time. Mike Ryder and I do one of these every week. And, you know, like he always says, like, you love to play it, you love to coach it, but those two things both come with consequences, even if it is some of the greatest times of your life, right? Being able to just be in the booth and be a part of something is awesome, though, because you don't have, like you say, you don't have to get hurt, and you also don't have to, you know, work 16-hour days like some of these coaches do. So that's awesome that you found an outlet in it, man. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and it's awesome too. You know, I got my family has always been so supportive, and yeah, it takes away sometimes from the Saturday games, but you know, like what Mikey was talking about, you know, and I know Ty, we talk about this too. Every time we're on a trip together, we're able to be there Monday through Friday. We're able to be that dad, be that spouse, be that whatever, so
Right.
we can, you know, provide, and at the same time, we get a little, we keep our sense of self, right? And I think that's so important. Especially for men's mental health, is make sure that you have a purpose, and it's okay to do you, and it's all right to be able to, you know, just go out there and still share that passion, that commitment to the game, but also too kind of more of a hands off level, and no pun intended, but from an eagle's eye view,
Yeah, no
because
doubt.
we're way up there in the box, you know, so it's nice.
For sure. Well, great entry point here, because we're going to talk about the Cats broadly from this season. We'll talk about this matchup on Saturday night, but this is also the Native American Heritage Day for Montana State. I know that they have some cool gear coming out, and I know Brett Vegan did a little deal with the Native American Heritage Center on campus, and he's really sort of leaning into this, you know, just in terms of honoring and paying homage to Indigenous peoples across Montana. So I know you are. I think you were one of, if not the first, Native Americans to play football and graduate from Montana State. So this is obviously something that's close to you. So what do you think of just the way that they're honoring your people and Native peoples across the state?
I think, it's a long time coming. A lot of people, they kind of throw, us as tribal members and as athletes, they automatically assume basketball or cross country because
right.
I mean, there's greats, and I can go down a whole list and a laundry list of amazing athletes that have competed both in basketball and on the cross country course. But the gridiron, though, a lot of people don't understand, and me being a history teacher, like we wouldn't have modern football the way we know it if it wasn't for Pop Warner and Jim Thorpe and the Carlisle Fantastic Redmen, and so that's a lot of that history and that where football really changed. There's a thing called the cut block. Well, they used to call it the Indian block because our people were longer and leaner. We weren't as stocky as some of our counterparts, like at Army or Harvard and some of those powerhouse schools back in the day. So Pop Warner's boys learned how to cut at the legs, and that back then they used to call it the Indian block. And so it's our people really had a hand in developing this. And like the Football Hall of Fame for the NFL, it's in Canton, Ohio. Why? Because Jim Thorpe played and had a big part in not only founding the NFL, but also to the Canton Bulldogs. And so that ideology of where we come from and where we fit into the game of football, man, it's been over 100 years. And it's time to tap back into that.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see a little bit of a revival for football too on the reservations around Montana. Like you had Rocky Boy win the 6-man title, I think 2 years ago, and it was so cool watching that game on the stream. Because how many people live in Rocky Boy? I don't know, maybe a couple hundred. And there was like 3,000 people at this game, right? Like there was buses lining the whole field, and the cars were all over the place. And you have a Blackfeet from Browning who's playing for the Grizzlies now, and he scored a touchdown earlier this year. Tommy Running Rabbit. Like we were joking, we were saying, how long did it take for every single person in Browning to know that a kid from Browning scored a touchdown for the Grizz? Like less than a couple hours, right? Everybody in the whole town.
I give him a shout out on the radio. You know what I mean? Like I had to, man. It's Picutti first. And so like, even though he's on the other side of the mountains, I was still like, hey, I got to give a shout out because that's so special. And it's probably the first kid from Browning in the FCS game to be able to score a touchdown. And I don't know the stats about that, but I know the type of family he comes from, and I know the people where he comes from. It's my people, and it was so proud. And when, like you said about Rocky Boy, like when we win as an individual, we all win, and we just love to support that because that's who we are in our culture. We don't talk about the losses, but we'll sure hammer home, and you'll know Uncle's best game, and he'll tell you over and over again, and it gets a little bit better with time. But it's one of those things that we really celebrate the victories. We celebrate those big moments. And even here at the school that I work at Northern Cheyenne Tribal Schools, we had our last game, 6-man football against Plenty-Coup. It was like 77-55. And if you haven't watched 6-man football, I'm telling you, man, you don't want to get up and go to the bathroom. You're gonna miss it. And you're gonna come out and be like, what? 14 points? How? And it was just fun.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road, pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Shine Beer Sanctuary is leading the charge when it comes to promoting beer culture in Montana. Located at the corner of Church and Main and downtown Bozeman, the locally owned and operated tap house and bottle shop has the best beer selection in the Treasure State. The bar has 32 rotating beers on tap with everything from Duvel to local ciders, gluten-free beers, and non-alcoholic options. The bottle shop has more than 400 beer offerings from all over the world, and Shine offers Cicerone-trained beer guides. Come enjoy beer heaven at Shine Beer Sanctuary in Bozeman.
1959, at Street's Grocery in Whitefish, Montana's special spice was born. Alpine Touch. It's the taste you grew up with, well seasoned through the test of time. As the tradition carries from one Montana generation to the next. From its humble beginnings to a trusted brand, here's to the next 60 years. Alpine Touch. Montana's special spice since 1959.
Yeah, super fun. There was a six-man game in the playoffs earlier this year. It was like 91-67 or something like that. I mean, it was like 160 something points that got scored. It's wild to watch those six-man games, man. It's a different style of football, no doubt. Last question on that note, though, just the fact that this is being celebrated so much by the whole Bobcat football team. As a Bobcat football alum, that it's probably a cool experience for you. What do you think of the helmet? That's a pretty cool deal that they're wearing too. So I just take us through just your thoughts on just sort of the way that Montana State football is sort of leading into this celebration of Indigenous peoples.
I think it's an amazing thing. Like Bozeman, where it's at, it was where the band of Piikani, where I come from, that's where we lived life, and we called it the Valley of the Flowers, and it was a place not only for healing, but that's where a lot of contested ground was. There was always an entry point. There's a place called Flathead Pass behind the bridges there where, our main hunting ground is on the other side of the mountains and near Judith Gap. And we'd patrol that thing constantly because you'd have the flatheads coming in from the west. You'd have some of the Nez Perce trying to sneak their way in, and the crow would bypass all the way around to come up through that area. So historically, our people have really defended that. And now with who we are today, long gone are those days of the raids, but at Bozeman, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but the native student population is through the roof. And a lot of that has to do with what, Dr. Walter Fleming has done, what Lisa Perry does there on campus, and Nicholas Ross, and everything they provide for these students to be able to, achieve their goals of graduating or pursuing a master's or a PhD. And it's one of those things that now that we're not in a little tiny room in the bottom of Wilson Hall, we have our own building, American Indian Hall. It's a place that we can call home. And they got a kitchen in there, and they got couches, and they got a place where they can go and smudge and go sing and just partake in who they are. And I think that gives you a sense of home away from home. And being who we are as people, we really align with home. Like we're family oriented. We like to hold on to who we are because that's what makes us successful. That's our identity. A lot of the time we talk about, I tell students, trees grow as tall as the sky, but their roots run deep. They're strong. They're deeply grounded. And so being able to have that at a fine institution like Montana State, I think it's just a long time coming. And that logo, man, it just brings me goosebumps. It makes me feel so proud because as a player, I would paint my face, and I would even have teammates be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, this is what it represents to me." And why would you come up with that? I'm like, "Well, that's between me and Creator, but it represents my four little brothers and, the four directions, and everything we do is in fours." And so it's been a long time coming, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's so cool because I remember when I wrote a story about you and your family years ago, back in I think 2011 when you were a senior. Your grandmother told me that same deal. She told me just about just sort of the coming of age ceremony for young men, native and otherwise, right? And how we keep losing those coming of age ceremonies, but sports is the thing that remains. And whether it's football or basketball or cross country, like that is the thing that can help us sort of transition from being a boy to a man or a girl to a young woman. And I just think it's so cool. And I think that's so cool that that means so much to you and your family and your people still to this day.
Oh, it does. And there's no better place to do it than on the football field. I mean, especially on the trenches, it's hand-to-hand combat.
Totally.
From snap to whistle, and especially when you, as me as an offensive lineman and defensive lineman, like it's physicality from start to finish. We're not just running routes or dropping back coverage. It's, hey, it's you versus me. And I'm about to move another person, either my size or bigger, against their will. And it's not going to be me today, And so it's that ideology and that foundation of strength, resilience, and hey, I'm just gonna buckle it up and I'm gonna go.
Leo Davis here on the Big Sky Breakdown, SkySportsMT.com. Well, how about then what you think of the Bobcat football team this year? Because I think this year was so interesting, given how last year ended, everything that they lost, both to graduation and to the transfer portal. And I think they had a lot of questions. And I think that the one thing I really appreciate about this group is they didn't say, "Oh, we don't listen to any of the noise." They actually said, "We do listen to the noise. We know what people think about us, and we're going to prove them wrong," right? And I think that's when you have leaders like Paul Brott and Kenneth Iden, and guys that are kind of like, hey, I had a chip on my shoulder. I still got a chip on my shoulder. Let's go prove it. So what have you thought of just in general, the way Montana State's been able to roll through, especially the last 2 months of this season?
Well, I'm kind of privileged because those are some young men that I like to have conversations with prior to the game, especially on road
So fun to
trips.
talk to you, man. Those D linemen.
Oh, they are, especially my Magic City Bobcats. I got a rep for them, and it's one of those things that, as a player, I know back when I played, I think MySpace was in infancy and Facebook was just coming out, but we had this thing called Bobcat Nation, and they used to tell us, "Do not get on there, don't listen to the noise," but you do, because it's motivating.
Right.
Especially when you have your own fans questioning you and everything you put in as far as summer workouts, winter conditioning, the daily grind of having to go to practice, play hurt, go to school, do all the things expected of you as a student athlete, and to still say, well, I don't know if you're going to be good enough, or I don't know if you're going to be that team. And for them to come out every weekend and prove that over and over again and not get lax, that's what makes this team special. And I think their ceiling is so far from being reached. And each week they've gotten better. And I still I believe that they really haven't put together that complete game yet. And we would, but our ceiling was kind of capped. That's why we were out in the quarterfinals. We were Big Sky champs, but there was only so far we could go. And at that time, it was the changing of the culture. I think a lot of people were, a lot of ex-teammates of mine, they were just so happy to be there. They kind of lost sight of the prize. And I might say that tongue in cheek, but that's just how it felt. And this team, they're hungry. They got, like you said, they got a chip on their shoulder, so they stay hungry.
That's been the part that's been so fascinating to watch over these last 15 years, is sort of just the incremental reestablishment of the standard, right? Like when Rob Ash was first there, he sort of had to rebuild it Mike Kramer was the one that came in and gave you the foundation. You were talking about the trees with the roots. He's the guy that gave them the roots. And then, Ash takes it up another level and says, okay, we can be Big Sky champs. We can be playoff contenders. And then Choate said, okay, now let's figure out a way to actually be nationally powerful, top 5 team. But that's where Vigen has got it to. And that's the most impressive part to me about him, is that there is nothing less than a national championship standard that he will accept. And I know they haven't won one yet, but they have been basically in the top 2 or 3 in the country for 4.5 years straight. And I think so much of that's because of the standard their head coach demands.
And that's what it starts from the top, right? Especially when we coach, it starts from the top down. And to be able to have a leader like Coach Vigen, I'm so impressed with what he's done, because it's easy to get handed the keys to a Lamborghini and say, well, go park it or go cruise this thing. And boy, man, he's took it for a road trip. And that's what I really appreciate about him. And yes, it started with Coach Kramer. He recruited me and guys like Mikey Ryder that I played with. And you want to talk about the culture change, that was our going back to 2010. Our goals that summer were to beat Eastern Washington, beat the Grizz, win the Big Sky, get to the playoffs. And, we were out, those that were bought in, like Mikey Ryder, myself, Mike Person, Jody Owens, guys like that, we knew we could go to the national championship. We wanted to. That want to was there, right? But the expectation amongst everybody, much different than it is now. Like, they have a look in their eye. And I'll never forget, after the 2009 season ended, Mikey Ryder was one of the main ones saying, don't make plans for Thanksgiving next year, fellas. I'm sick of this. We're not doing this no more. And yeah, and look what it's turned into.
Look what it's turned into, no doubt. Well, what do you think this team, what do you think gives this team an edge just in terms of their operation? Like, what are the strengths to you of Montana State?
Oh, the depth. And, they have so much depth. We want to talk about our DBs. Those guys, they sub in and out and they don't miss a beat, and they lay the lumber, they cover well, and they're young. There's depth and youth on this team that separates them from the rest, and usually on programs like this, you're senior and junior laden like that. Those are your leaders. Those are the people that are there. But one man down, we don't miss a beat. We miss that person out there on that field, but the next man up is just as good and just as ready and just as prepared. And that speaks volumes to the coaching staff, but also too to the peer leadership. I know to be a part of a program like that, everybody has to root for one another. It's not like, hey, I'm coming for you. At the same time though, I'm coming for your spot, but I'm cheering you on, bro. And I'm gonna have your back. And then when I'm out there doing my thing, you're gonna do the same thing for me. And so that's where it really starts. And this team, on offensively, so many different weapons. You can put the ball in anybody's hands and go get it done. Doesn't matter if it's our tight end group or wide receivers or running backs. There's just so much talent on this team. And ultimately, I got to be biased. I always am. Uncle Dan's always giving me crap about it, but I always talk about the offensive line. Our offensive line is phenomenal. And there's also youth there. There's room to grow and people playing out of position sometimes. And you just keep the ball rolling. And that's a beautiful thing that Coach Smith has done. And you want to talk about foundations, Coach McIndoe was a big part of that. He really saw the transition from Coach Kramer to Coach Ash, and then he went on his way. But that offensive line room, that's kind of where it started for us to be able to be that, that offense. I kind of got started with Lule. I'm a big Lule fan. I was a little kid then, but the offensive line has always been the unsung heroes of this team. And this year with like Titan Fleischman and JT Reed and even the young man, Braden Zimmer, they're all doing great things. Brick Mastel, Cedric Jefferson, these guys, they play well together. And I'm excited to see what happens this weekend. UC Davis, they're going to bring it. I'm glad they don't got Lan Larison this year, though. That guy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
His one-handed catch last year, I was just talking to our football coach about it. He jumped. I don't know. He must have had like a 40-inch vert, but he was up in the air for some time. He caught the ball behind him, not even looking at it. His eyes right down the field and just one-handed it. And we're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. But, hey, we came out victorious, and that was last year. Put the ball down. Let's play. I'm excited. It's just so late of a game, though. It's like, could it be earlier?
I know, right? I know. We were like thinking, like, what are we going to do all day on Saturday? I told my brother, I said, maybe let's like get up super early and then let's go take a nap just so that we can come back to the stadium, right? It is funny, though, the way you have to plan your day when it is such a late kickoff. I don't know how the athletes do it. I think it would be terrible to start playing a sport at 8:45 at night. It's too late, man.
It's tough, and like even like in their preparation, it's one of those things they practice in the mornings, and then you go to school, and then you have treatment and meetings and stuff. But as far as that prep that goes into it, you can't get too active, but you don't want to be too lackadaisical in the day. There's that fine approach, and I know the weight room staff and the coaching staff is going to have their schedule out for them. They're going to do a great job for that. But it's one of those things, man. That's the beauty of football. You suit up, you go out and get her done. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the game is gonna get over about 11:30 at night, and Bozeman's gonna be hopping.
So will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
It's time to let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser Hard Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka, it's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. With no bubbles to fill you up, it's perfect for tailgating or ski season in Montana. Plus, each Sun Cruiser is only 100 calories and 4.5% alcohol, making it perfect for anywhere your adventures take you. When you need a little sun in your life, nothing hits quite like a Sun Cruiser. Crack one open today and let the good times cruise.
Sun Cruiser Beverage Co., Boston, Massachusetts. All nutritionals based on 12-ounce servings. Please drink responsibly.
There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus. Indeed. Well, last thing for you then, and we can break this down a little bit more next week too, but the fact is that this has been sort of a narrative that's been gaining steam, and that is the collision course between Montana and Montana State. And I do think it's an interesting deal with this week, because I think that people are just sort of assuming the Grizz are going to go to Portland and win because Portland State's 1-9. They've had a tough year. Not as much of an assumption on the Bobcat side of things, though, but I also think that Brent Vigen doesn't really let his teams fall into the the narrative of trap games or, overlooking an opponent. So I think they'll be well prepared, but this is an obstacle. It's a pivotal game for Montana State on Saturday night because they have to get it done to then make, the game in Missoula worth everything that it's going to be worth. So what do you think of just the opportunity Montana State has in front of itself the next 2 weeks?
That's just what it comes down to. And as it should be, I mean, the Big Sky Conference should come down between us and them as far as looking forward to next week. But you got to be 1-0. And our coach Vegan, he continuously preaches that to his players as far as, hey, focus at the task at hand. And as a football player, you kind of already know that. There's always an asterisk. We know it's circled on the calendar year round, cat grizz. But in order to really be that champion, you want to beat everybody. You want to be the best. And you want to have a solid November. And I think, for our fans, we're kind of spoiled in the sense that we really haven't had any of those close games. But you got to put this one away. You got to be able to just take it one play at a time. And it's so special because UC Davis is also in the hunt. There's so much that can happen. That's the beauty of the Big Sky. Anybody can win on any given day. It doesn't matter their record. And I've seen it. I've been a part of that. I felt that a few times. Once was my true freshman year when we lost to Northern Colorado, and then in 2010 when we went to NAU and we just couldn't get the ball rolling. And that was earlier in the season, so we had to really play catch up. We really had a large task at hand. We weren't really in the driver's seat like this team is, and they control their destiny. And I know Coach Plow's going to do a great job getting his guys ready, but it's a different beast playing on Bozeman. And when you're at home and you got that student section and the Sonny Hall and end zone, nothing better and nothing beats it. And I know everybody's going to be excited.
Well, it's good talking to you, man. Appreciate the insight as always. Let's catch up again soon, but thanks so much for being here this week.
Yeah, thank you. And because it's Native American Heritage Week, and I feel like I got a platform to educate, like we're in the Big Sky Conference, right?
Yep.
But you know where that comes from. It's not just from Montana. Montana is a Big Sky state because as Blackfeet, we'd go everywhere. We'd travel all the way down into Mexico, South America, and they would ask you, where are you from? And we would say, Nimututu Omoxpum, which means land of the Big Sky. So ultimately, Big Sky Conference, it's Blackfeet Conference. The Big Sky, that's our country, man. And so I'm excited for the Big Sky Conference to kind of have to come through us back home in order to get it done.
That's awesome, man. Awesome story. Thanks for sharing. And
you're welcome.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, you too, brother. Hey, give my best to you and your family. Tell Brooks to say what's up. And hey, I look forward to it. Thank you for this opportunity.